Hey guys, welcome to episode 87 of CMD Towers Brews and Builds. I'm Mr. Commodore Number 5, and my fellow host has completed his move to the blighted woodland known as North Carolina, BigTuck.
Hey y'all, how are we doing today?
Oh, BigTuck.
I just got back from the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
I was moonshining up in the hills.
Enjoyed that, and I just got back and got my Confederate tattoo. So long live! It's a heritage, not a negative thing.
Jesus.
So I feel like I'm pretty well acclimated to my new belongings here.
Oh wow.
Well, Tuck, how's the new apartment? How's Charlotte?
It's good.
How was the drive?
The drive was awful. It was not fun. I can also safely say that Nashville is a real pile of shit. Terrible town, just the worst, and it was not fun at all, and I wish we would have just gone straight through, but that's what happens when you go with a 60-year-old man. So it's good. I like a lot of people have very kindly asked me, like, how's Charlotte going? And it's like, honestly, I've been in Charlotte for maybe 4 hours over the last 9 days because I've just been picking up furniture, building furniture.
I can tell from your sparse walls that it looks like you've been decorating.
Well, that couch I had to move up, and it weighs 1,000 pounds. This desk I got today. This I got the other day. So it's been nice. My birthday was last night, and we went out to a part in the south part of town, and had some beers and pizza. And I got to go to Lower Left Brewing, and I'm enjoying their Edge.
It is. It's similar. It has some blue on it. It could have been Rock Creek. It was close.
I am drinking on my Rock Creek glass, of course.
There it is.
And this is their delicious Edge of Precipice Pale Ale. So that's been good. But yeah, it's been exhausting. Stout has been having some troubles and pooped on my bath mat. So that was not exciting to find in the morning.
Did you step in it?
No, I luckily did not. I got up and was like, there's like some lint and stuff. And I was like, that kind of looks like cat poop. And I was like, I just picked it up with a paper towel and threw it away. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just something from my clothes. And then I walked in the bathroom and I was washing my hands and turned around. And it's like, no, that actually looks like cat poop. Because
I'm more concerned that you thought that potential cat poop was just something from your clothes.
Or from lint or whatever. So it just was like, that looks weird. Then he peed on my clothes. That was exciting. But the reason why...
Sounds like he's just taking his anger out on you.
Yeah.
You made him drive 22 hours. He was
really good in the car, though. Like, he never me out or anything. And I dosed him the first day, and then he peed himself. So there's been a lot of pee. There's been a lot of pee-related mishaps with my cat. But
wow.
He's doing okay. So I am very tired. I have been acclimating to the new place, and I'm hanging in there. So how are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right. It's been a weird week for me. So I got my last COVID shot last Friday.
Ooh, nice.
Didn't really have any symptoms. I felt a little nauseous the next morning, a little drained of energy for the first part of the day. But then honestly, I felt fine after that. My arm was a little sore. Woke up Monday, really didn't feel great. I was just like drained of energy. Tuesday, drained of energy. Yesterday, drained of energy. It was just like the last 3 days, and even this morning when I woke up, I don't know what it is. Like, my Fitbit says I'm getting decent sleep.
Mm-hmm.
What's your blood type? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay, because I have heard from people with more rare blood types like me, they have more common symptoms than people who have like normal blood types like O or that sort of thing.
So what I heard is that the vaccine, the second dose specifically, which I also got mine, but I heard that it can and has been known to have effects up to 10 days after you get it. So you may be on some residuals from it. It may not hit you. Like when I got mine, the day of, nothing. Next morning, knocked on my ass for 6 hours, and then I was fine. But yeah, you may just be on this slow release from getting it. Because I've heard from other people and some things I've read that it could be up to 10 days of grogginess or whatever.
Well, I didn't ask for the slow release vaccine. I wanted fast acting.
I also
like it in a Jello shot form.
I'm also getting my vaccine, my first. So check this out. So I moved here technically Monday or Tuesday was my first day in Charlotte in my apartment. So I already got signed up to get my COVID shot on Saturday, right, at a brewery, which is awesome, and I totally predicted this would be happening. But then guess the earliest date for me to get my driver's license?
A month from now.
May 18th. And guess when my driver's license expired?
May 17th?
No, April 14th. And then guess when my temporary
2016.
Guess when my temporary tags expire on my car that I just bought? Tomorrow 4/16. So for a calendar month, I will be driving illegally, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Hey, look, I'm a professional in that. You'll be fine.
Drive for the next month.
That's potentially an option. I guess I could just walk around, which is the point of moving here. But anyways, it's just funny to me that that's the life I'm currently living.
But yeah, no, that's really been like what my week has been, which kind of sucks. It's just been like in this weird fog of like stomach aches and sometimes get migraines, feeling drained of energy. So I'm hoping if it's this 10-day thing, I'm hoping by this time next Monday, I will finally be in the free and clear.
Excellent.
But alas, we miss you, BigTuck.
I know. I miss you guys too.
I still see you.
I was very much looking forward to tonight to see your two beautiful faces.
Like the room that you're sitting in right now with the camera looks identical to the room that you had in Kansas. The door's in the same spot. The window's in the same spot. The fan's right above you.
You mean besides no mirror and a couch? Clearly a living room?
It's the same room, the same layout. It just seems like you're still up the road.
Drunk.
Well, I think that's a good segue to thanks for tuning into the episode. And as always, with that drunkalith commentary from Rich Chaos Records is Squee McGee.
Also, Squee McGee. I just feel pretty good today. And just,
Wait, you all
had a couple beers. It wasn't big deal. I
didn't know Squee also moved to
Was Tuck the one that moved to North Carolina?
Damn it, I was just going to say that. Didn't let me finish.
Bit stealer.
No, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. It's good to see your face, Tuck. Hope your move went well. Hope your birthday was good.
Don't worry, I'm still hairy.
Good. A wizard?
Ooh, I like that.
Go to hell.
Yeah. With that, I'm gonna dip right back into the old Brews and Builds cast. Oh, little wizard Harry to get out of here. I'm happy to be.
Well, guys, if you want to know more ways to support my ongoing substance abuse, because I cannot shake the Wizard Harrys and all the content we create, you should head over to level1gameshop.com. They're our awesome sponsor. They're the ones that hook you guys up with those amazing monthly giveaways, whether it's the Time Spiral bundle from last month. Maybe next month will be a pre-con of one of C21's new decks. That could be kind of cool. They're an awesome crew. Definitely, if you're placing single orders, which we know you are, go order for them. If you're ordering sealed product, go order for them. And just let them know that, hey, you came from the collective, so that way they know this partnership is worth their time. But of course, if you would like to help us out financially, and obviously a big one would be upgrading Tuck's equipment, so that way he doesn't sound like a robot. Secondly, being able to get you guys on Brews and Builds. And of course, getting our 2021 swag process started. Head over to patreon.com/CMD Tower. We do have reward tiers for all the budgets. And by the way, with all of those reward tiers, if you're a new patron, we give you shout outs, which we got 2 new patrons who announced today. Hello, Dustin. And yes, this is the infamous Dustin from which Oob is friends with. And comes up here
really?
And decides to shame beat me because I whooped his ass with Xerus the first time we met. And so he decided to sit down and just run a Brea train on me to prove a point.
Like it.
Yes, that's Dustin.
Support that.
And then, of course, Christopher. Never met you, but you spell your name with a K, and I give respect to that.
That's respectful. Also, I am a love robot. I am here to sex you up.
Oh my God.
Also, I have to point out, as much as Mr. Combo hates Wizard Harry's, he's wearing a Kansas City Wizards jersey.
Wizard Harry.
Yeah, Wizards Harry jersey. So I just wanted you all to know that while mentally he is disdainful, physically he is on board.
Mentally, he is checked out of this podcast. Physically, he's still technically here.
And of course, guys, for just $1 a month, you could join the Discord, get your shout out, get submitted for deck therapy that we do on MTG Action 4 News. And then we have $5, $15, and $25 tiers that get you more and more CMD Tower swag, plus more and more entries into the monthly giveaways. Plus, that money actually goes to, like I said, improving the cast. It doesn't just go into our pockets, which that would be kind of cool. Like, wish we could get big enough like Command Zone where we're just making a living off of producing Magic stuff.
Be sweet.
But we're not that cool.
Right now, you give me like 50 cents and we're like, cool. I'll go get some gum.
Yeah, exactly. That's spearmint I've always wanted.
For 50 cents.
Maybe a piece, like off the street from somebody that already has a pack.
Pieces. But regardless, if you guys can't help out from a monthly perspective, but still want to pick up some of that swag, please head over to cmdtower.com/merch. We sell everything on there: mats, sleeves, coins, reminder tokens, monarch tokens, whatever you want. If you even want us for $1 to virtually give you a high five, we'll do it.
I've heard
How does that work?
I know that there's a lot of talk of like alternative revenue streams, right? And according to and I'm gonna put some loose terms on this research, I feel like feet pics might be our next new revenue stream.
Oh God, not my feet, and definitely not your feet.
I
got decent looking feet.
Yeah,
I could probably get a couple bucks off of those things.
I don't know. Should we create an OnlyFans, but it's for Magic?
It's just our binders.
No, it's a new website. Only feet.
Oh, nice.
Oh, God. And of course, guys, we've been talking about it. We do have a referral program. So if you are part of our patron community and you get one of your friends, colleagues, someone maybe from your LGS to join our patronage and wants to be a long-term patron, have them send us a note when they sign up of who recommended them, and we'll send you some free swag for helping to grow the collective and free my basement. And of course, the free way to help out is just share the content you're already watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And hey, Pink Royal, we appreciate the music. It's never going to stop. And hey, make sure you guys stay tuned till the end so you can get more details on how you can win the Strixhaven bundle from Level 1. And of course, big shout out to T-Coats, our awesome video editor who does all the YouTube work for us and even drove up from good old Oklahoma to jam some games with the BigTuck before he left the town.
I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, we have moved on to the endless themes that EDH can bring us. Each month will be a new theme, and we correlate how these decks are constructed similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. That's grain.
And grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually about a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp in your bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
The next is how does your board interact with the rest of the board? We call that hops.
And hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then we have, how does your deck actually close out and win? Which I'm very curious with this deck because I don't really see it. We call that yeast.
Yeast are microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds the alcohol content and the carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. And without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have shenanigans. These can be pet cards. Alter the Broods, the deck needs one, that are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into a jalapeno stout, or the addition of hops that turn IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And then to cap off the episode, we have redundancy, which is a bottle capping. These are BigTuck's and I's cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just can't talk about those mana-only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. We are continuing Death and Taxes month. Yes, we took a break last week while BigTuck traveled and you got a lost episode, but now you get a episode with Muldrotha's Buggy yard. Just lots of little insects in her yard. Just plucking them out. Just get little bits. Just little guys.
Sure.
I understand Muldrotha, and Tuck, why don't you talk about her, but since this is your deck, read the commander and... What?
What is going on right now?
I'm so confused by this deck. It just seems like...
How did you change your camera?
Did you have to just have a stroke? Wait, are we back? Are we live?
What are you talking about? I've been here.
Well, anyways, we're all losing our minds. We all have space dementia. Muldrotha the Gravetide is a legendary creature, elemental avatar. That's a 6/6. It's a mythic rare, and it costs 3 colorless, and that is Sultai, which is black, green, and blue. Its text reads, during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. And according to the random number generator, we have, oh, damn it, this one again? This is the one that I did last time.
I'm telling you, man, your random number generator is suspect.
The Sorcerer Supreme always says, my child grew from rotten ruin, yet she bloomed, which is from Multani. But I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do a new bit because that's on Mr. Combo's side. So yeah, so I built this kind of on a lark. Sultai never really had any sort of color combination and still really doesn't. That really has jumped out to me. I understand I have Zeraxa or whatever that deck is. The Zexara, thank you. My brain is not working functionally. So this one just seemed like it'd be really fun. Being able to play your graveyard is like your second library, or in a lot of times your primary library, seemed like it had a lot of cool applications. I decided to do something a little different, and I only have permanents in this deck except for one spell. Everyone probably knows what it is. It's definitely in here. And the reason why I put this into Death and Taxes is A, I didn't have another deck that came close. B, I didn't know when I could ever shoehorn this into any other theme that we had scheduled for the rest of the year. And C, there is this line of play that I've had on it several times where the death part happens. There's a lot of creatures dying. There's a lot of targeted removal. And there's also a lot of counter magic and that sort of thing. So when I played this traditionally, I kind of played like the control player in the early game of generating value and kind of dictating the flow of how things going. So you kind of tax the other people. It's also kind of like a group slug sort of thing. But as alluded to, a lot of times when I played it, it just kind of becomes like Snowpiercer. It's just this endless chain of value that like is completely dictating the game, but never really like can circle around in on itself. So I'm really hoping to, with the help of Mr. Combo, to find one or two ways to kind of help be able to seal games out a little bit more efficiently. But there is one loop in the deck that I've gotten to do several times, which is awesome.
Yeah, but when you use the one non-permanent card to get that loop out, you still have to wait a rotation before activating it. So
no, you don't.
I mean, as long as you have the Greaves.
Yeah, if the Greaves are in the deck, in my hand, or on the battlefield, then we're good. So yeah. it usually is a pretty good shot.
Oh, gosh. Well, and it actually doesn't even work if it's in your hand because you only get to put the stuff out from your library.
True.
So you'd have to have 2 additional to cast it. But now we're getting down a rabbit hole.
Yes, we are.
So yeah, you have a very fringe way to win. And outside of that, I just think you win by beat face.
Pretty much. Yeah. You just kind of deprive everyone of resources. And then like the big ass creatures that you get back and can reanimate over and over again kind of help through that. So yeah, that's kind of been the, and even while going to your point, while going through the list, and like if we look at it, I have 31 grain, 26 hop, 9 yeast, and 3 spice. So it's definitely a little front loaded there.
Yeah. So it's definitely Sultai value, and,
yes,
and I see that. And I think this would be fine if you were the type of person that's like, I don't really care if a game ends. I'm just here to do the thing. This seems like a Godfather type deck where ideally his perfect game of Magic is lots of interaction for 5 hours straight. He would be perfectly fine doing that. Tuck, I know you're not built that way. So hopefully some of the recommendations I give you will at least give you better lines of play to win. Or give you a little bit more fun from that control aspect. So, from a mana perspective, your mana is not perfect thirds, which is shocking.
I know, right?
But you are a little off, need a little bit more green, a little less black mana. Maybe that's because you got some double, triple pips in here that I'm not aware of.
I never even looked at the mana curve on this. Like, I haven't gotten around to it, but I think the easy solution there, now that there's all the pathways and all the shadow lands, you can just swap those out for some blacks and some blues, and I think that'll solve itself pretty well. which is exciting. Which is like exciting now to be like there's fairly budget land options that you can get into 3 and 4 colors.
Well, here, Tuck, for your birthday, you pick a pathway, and I'll send you one.
Oh, thanks.
And your average CMC is 294. Not bad. Not bad at all. Makes sense for a Muldrotha deck.
I was shocked. It was under 3. I couldn't believe it.
Your average price for the deck's about $300, give or take. Card Kingdom's up to 400. So, yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about the deck. It's just kind of interesting whenever people do the WinCon decks. It's usually mostly permanents. Like I do the same thing in my God deck.
Yeah.
But kind of like your backups to that. And once you do that, how do you succeed? We'll get there. So let's get into the deck. And BigTuck, start us off. What's your first grain card you think is a must-have for Muldrotha?
I think this card is criminally underplayed, and it's super budget. And it's also a snake. But this is probably the best, again, with the permanent clause. This is one of, if not the best card in the deck to get it going and once you can get it out. So my old pal, Gravebreaker Lamia, snake, really gets you there. So 4 colors and a black. It's an enchantment creature. Doesn't matter. Snake, Lamia. That's a rare from...
That does matter.
The Lamia bit, Lamia tribal. I think they're all from Theros. It's from whatever the recent Theros block is. I couldn't possibly remember.
Theros Beyond Death.
Thank you. And it's a 4/4 with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. Spells you cast from the graveyard cost 1 less to cast. So pretty much get you any card in the deck that you can cast with Muldrotha out. That is one of the things that is a struggle in this deck. This is definitely one that's built top down. And there's a few ways that you can interact with your graveyard when you don't have Muldrotha out, but she's really critical to the game. And this being able to tutor for a card, be a good blocker, gain you some life, as well as make things even cheaper to cast from the graveyard, will let you hit all those permanent types much more consistently.
Yeah, it's a great card. Anytime you are doing a graveyard deck and you can have an ETB tutor to the yard, it's really, really nice. And especially that cost reduction's great as well. And I've always felt safer being able to play things from the graveyard than from hand for some reason. Because there's ways that you can kind of cheat from yard to battlefield.
Correct, yeah.
Without actually casting, which is pretty great, especially when you're playing blue control players.
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
think Gravebreaker Lamia can do a lot of different things. Yes, it helps with Muldrotha reducing cast, but you basically get like a card that you have in your yeast section, but instead of to hand, it's to graveyard on ETB. And so, in theory, Gravebreaker dies, you cast it again with Muldrotha, you get to do it again, and now it's almost toolboxy on what you need. So it's a very modal card. So I think it hits a lot of different levels for you. All right.
Agreed.
My first one is boring, but outside of competitive tables, Muldrotha is probably one of the few decks I think it's worth running in because its cumulative upkeep can be pretty backbreaking, and its effect is good. It's just not that great at casual tables if you don't have it turn 1. Mystic Remora. The fish.
It's unreal. The fish.
It's a single blue enchantment, cumulative upkeep 1. So for any new Magic players out there or people that haven't seen this effect since playing Magic, cumulative upkeep, basically you play Mystic Remora, it stays 1 turn full cycle, nothing happens. Your next upkeep, you have to pay colorless. And we always put like a reminder counter on the card. Next turn, so this would be the second upkeep, now you got to pay 2 mana. Basically, every one of your upkeeps that Mystic Remora is there, you have to keep paying the cumulative upkeep. If you ever choose to not pay it, then you just sacrifice the permanent. So, before I kind of talk about why that's cool with Muldrotha, whenever target opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, which is what I was kind of talking about, if it's not super early or competitive tables, you may not get the value you need, you may draw a card. That player may pay 4, which will never happen, to counter this effect. So basically, I really look at Mystic Remora, especially with Muldrotha out, you may pay the cumulative upkeep once, maybe twice, but then you're going to let it go to the graveyard. Because then you're going to cast Muldrotha and just pay it for a single blue, and then your next upkeep, you're going to let it sacrifice, and then you're going to play it again for a single blue. So then you're literally only ever paying a single blue to do it. Well, actually, I guess you would play her from the yard next you would actually pay the colorless upkeep because you're going to pay 1 no matter what.
Right.
Then so anytime you'd pay more than 1 on the upkeep, you'd sack it. And Muldrotha just gives you that ton of value. It's a $10 card because it's played in every
all over the
deck
place
out there. But when you're talking casual circles, it's kind of like Soul Ring. If you don't get it turn 1, maybe turn 2, it loses a lot of its luster.
Exactly.
Because what's the point of paying cumulative upkeep that late in the game? But with Muldrotha, you kind of get around that.
I completely agree. And like I remember when this card, I wish I would have listened when I was first playing the game. When I moved back to Chicago, here we go.
A billion of them.
Cheers. Yeah, they're 50 cents. And people were like, don't sleep on this card, this is going to go up, and here we are. So yeah, I think I agree, and I think for the most part, Remora is a good card. I don't think it's worth the money a lot of the times, because again, like you said, if you top deck at late game, it doesn't do anything, or you want to get the value early, whereas here you can kind of get the most of the world. So this and one I'll be talking about in the hop section really shine in this deck.
Cool. Hey, Tuck, what's your next grain?
I am talking about something that you have been interested in through periods of your life, but this one is not like a Rolex, but more like a Casio, because it goes on and on and on, because it's a perpetual timepiece.
Oh,
you like that? So perpetual timepiece is a artifact. It's an uncommon from Kaladesh. It's 2 colorless. Tapped, put the top 2 cards of your library in your graveyard. I think that's been rad to say mill 2. 2 colorless. Exile perpetual timepiece. Shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. And there is some flavor text here. So we are
Sorcerer Supreme.
So it was one off. Do not be so caught up, motherfucker, and keeping track of time that you forget to make use of it, motherfucker. So, old Samuel L. Jackson. I also don't know how thick these walls are, so I'm trying really hard not to scream.
I think you should test the boundaries today. Let's find out. Let's find out if the neighbors even know.
The neighbor on the other side of this wall is extremely attractive, so I'm trying to be nice.
Your voice got quieter as you said that.
Well, it's like she could be listening right now. She's got the glass up to the thing. Who's this handsome bearded man? So anyways, this card has a lot of utility for a 2-drop. Obviously, being able to mill yourself is kind of a sub-theme in this deck, just to fill up your graveyard, just like your secondary hand. But there are a handful of cards in here where if you get hit with like a Bajuka Bog, or you're trying to target something and they're trying to blow up, you're trying to exile your graveyard, this deck just get completely hosed. So I don't like to have a million of them in there, but having some cheap redundancy makes it kind of easy to be able to do that. So being able to pop this off for 2 mana makes it pretty slick. And I also have I have another drink coming in here, because this idea was given to me by a friend in Fort Collins. Alley-oop.
Strong drink.
So that's what I got.
It's a great card, especially for Muldrotha, because I mean, if you're doing the all permanent thing and you're really building your deck like having to utilize Muldrotha, this card basically says tap, draw 2 cards.
Exactly.
It's just they're going to be in your graveyard instead of your hand. So yeah, I'm good with that. And I think, once again, this is a great modal card, because when people are like, oh, he's doing Muldrotha, let me save my Bajuka Bog until he has 20 cards in his graveyard, and I know one of his combo pieces are there. Let me Bajuka Bog it. With that on the stack, let me pay 2, exile the timepiece, shuffle the cards that I want, or maybe everything, from my graveyard back to my library.
Exactly.
So it protects you, draws you cards essentially, and for 50 cents, you can't go wrong.
Exactly. So I've used it and I endorse it.
All right. Well, the next one I'm going to talk about is the OG Planeswalker. Before Planeswalkers were Planeswalkers, this card was a Planeswalker.
It's so good.
We're talking good old Deathrite Shaman. That would be Shaman if you spoke normal. So this card costs Golgari to cast. Golgari Hybrid. So you can either pay black or green. Creature Elf Shaman, rare. It's a 1/2 for close to $9. And this card does
Shadowmoor prices.
Lot of effects. And basically it has these 3, and it's a 1/2. The one that I like the most for the grain section is tap, exile target land from a graveyard, add 1 mana of any color. So you basically play this like a Birds of Paradise, and as people early game are doing their polluted deltas, their other fetch lands, there we go. Let me get some mana and start doing some things. But it doesn't stop there. Black.
It's so good.
Tap. Exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. Green and tap. Exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain 2 life. And yes, you can do that when someone's Kozilek Butcher of Truth goes to the yard. Shuffle effect on the stack. Let me exile it, and that way it doesn't get shuffled back into the library. This card's bananas. I hate that it's $9 almost, but I actually understand why it's $9 almost. This card is one of the few cards that it's like, oh, okay, that completely makes sense on why this good utility card is so much, because it can be played in Commander. I think it gets played in Legacy?
Mm-hmm. Oh, all day. I think it's banned. I think it's banned in Modern. It's banned in Modern, yeah. And if I had this card is even better with this, because if you do hit your mills and you're starting to bin your lands, or there's a lot of lands I have that are kind of like one-time use that then go in there. So I think this deck and this build really benefits from having as much fetches and that sort of thing as possible. Now that I own more of them, I might be able to like get some proxies or whatever they're referred to as anymore. But just being able to
cards, sir.
Thank you very much. Just being able to have that utility on him is insane. Like it is wild that this card only costs 1 mana for such a huge upswing of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely, throw in Fabled Passages into the deck. What's the other one from Modern Horizons?
Prismatic Vista.
So, there's more than like what I'm looking at. And obviously there's like OG fetch lands, which you have a couple. But yeah, I mean, like once again, like we've kind of talked about with our play group, and definitely communicate with your guys' play group. But if anyone gets upset, tell them CMD Tower said to suck it.
Facts.
Definitely, like Magic prices are expensive. You can't afford to have even a Fabled Passage. I think that's like what, a $15 card.
It's like an 8, so it's not as bad, but it's going up. And and to your point, Prismatic Vista is $30.
There we go. Prismatic. I knew one of them was like
super expensive. Yeah.
So Prismatic Vista being a $30 card, there's no reason that you need to own 40 copies to run it in all of your decks. Yeah. Don't be a degenerate and just buy like one expensive card and proxy it into 100 things. But if you have decks that need it, like Tux, I would not be upset if he did playtest in cards that or some of these fetch land type things into this deck, because I know this deck actually could use them and like leverage it, opposed to him just being like, I just wanted to run fast mana.
Yeah, exactly. I just need this deck to run off.
All right, Tuck, what is your last grain?
So this was another one that got printed, and as soon as I saw it got printed, I knew that this was the deck for it. So it's another Elf Druid card, and here's the bad news. I threw away the Rattler.
The Rattler?
The thing with the...
it's good.
It's gone. But this guy also is enjoying the season that we are currently in right now. And
we do.
3,
2, 1.
Spring Blue Druid! Woo!
Yeah,
2 colors and a green for an Elf Wizard is 1/1.
I gotta be honest, I don't like Subdued Tuck. We gotta work on this.
It's just one night. I'm just feeling it out. I'm also very tired.
How about this, Tuck? You read what the card is and does, and I will take over the voice.
Ooh, I like that. Sold. If that's the bargain on every single match, I'm here. I'm here for it. So Spring Druid is 2 colors and a green for 1/1 creature Elf Druid. It's a common for about 22 cents. When it enters the battlefield, you may sack a land. If you do, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Effectively Harrow. And the one that this guy, a high number. We don't see those too often. Okay. This is going to be read by Tavalus, Acolyte of Corliss, also known as Canoe Reeves.
New growth applies a healing poultice to wounds long scabbed over.
Nice. Dig it. Love it.
So yeah, I picked this card purely because it's an ETB,
yep,
which I kind of do that sub theme with my Carador deck. Is whenever you're trying to play things from the yard, I think ETB is like the instant value you want.
Correct.
Like,
exactly.
sure, getting like an 8/8 for 5 is cool with trample and haste and whatever, but I would rather pay 3, get this. I get the ETB multiple times per game as long as I'm able to get it back to the graveyard.
Right.
When it ETBs, I get to sack a land, which that's another thing to my graveyard, to then go get 2 basics from my library, which thins my deck, and I could just rinse and repeat this. So I love it on a lot of levels. Something that just kind of came to head that they usually don't ever say, but at least it just says a land and not sacrifice a non-basic land. That would kind of suck. Like, hey, trade your non-basic for a couple basics.
Right.
But yeah, this thing I would have to imagine is I'm not going to say it's a powerhouse where it warps the game, but I imagine this speeds your deck along a lot quicker.
Super fast. And having the creature type around just a sack for value. I think there's a build, well, and I don't want to get into it. I'll talk about that because I think there's like 3 different kind of builds that I can morph this into. But we'll talk about that just down the road.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our grain section. Now we're going to head over to the hop profile. And I will start this off.
Hops.
With and Tuck does this to me, guys. He baits me. He puts cards in here that he knows I can't resist talking about. And of course, Ashiok Dreamrender is one of those cards. So this is a colorless hybrid Dimir, which means you can pay any combination of blue or black twice. Legendary Planeswalker Ashiok from War of the Spark. It's an uncommon still sitting at $1.50.
So stupid.
I can't believe this hasn't gone up in price.
Stupid.
Yeah, because all the uncommon or multiple of the uncommon Planeswalkers from War I actually think are better than the rares and mythics.
Oh, there's no question. 100%.
Yeah. And so it comes in with 5 loyalty. It has, I'm going to read the activated ability first. And then I'm going to do, because actually I think its static effect is better for this deck.
Definitely.
So it's -1 though is good. It's a -1 Planeswalker, no uptick. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, which Tuck obviously picks himself. But then each opponent exiles their graveyard, which is busted and dumb.
It's so stupid.
Let me Bajuka Bog essentially 5 times if I want throughout the game. But the reason this card is Banana Hammock and why I love it in a Muldrotha deck, it has a static effect of spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controller to search their library. You wanted to do a fetch land, you wanted to do Kadama's Reach, you wanted to Demonic Tutor. Nope, you can't do any of it.
Exactly.
So Ashiok is always a card that people will kill. They're going to lightning bolt it. They're going to attack it. They're going to get rid of it as soon as they can, because it's kind of like the whole argument with Opposition Agent. It's not fun if you don't let me tutor. Like, whatever. Get out of here. But with Muldrotha and Ashiok CMC, it's like, okay, you killed it. I'll play it again for 3.
Here we go.
I'll play it again for 3. There are Muldrotha Super Friends builds out there because of the fact that I can repurpose them as often as I need to. And I think these uncommon ones are real bright spots for Muldrotha because normally you get it down to, like, in this case, it goes down by 1. It starts at 5. You'd probably get it down to like 3 or 2 and then stop because it's like, I don't want to get it too close where just a single damage can kill it. Here, Tuck, I would guess you probably don't even care. No. I could even see you, it's at 1, you minus it, kill it, do your thing, and then play it again,
exactly.
do it again.
Yes.
And you just essentially that turn paid 3 mana to put 8 cards in your graveyard. Like, that's, even if your second exile for your opponents doesn't do anything, that is still amazing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And there's... So the last time I can remember playing this, and this has happened many times, I become the arch enemy, and I was playing with Mikhail, and I played this card, and he was like, okay, you have to die now. This one card, and I didn't even cast my commander, and he turned the entire table against me. So, you made mention, I think that there's this sweet spot in this deck of like 3 mana of having, like, if you can find most things that are in 3 mana, that'll let you do multiple things a turn. The turn after you have Muldrotha come in, and Ashiok is just stupid for the value that it gets out of it.
Completely agree. All right, Tuck, what's your first hops card?
So this one, we're going to go on a bit of a safari.
Yes.
Maybe through some sort of grass.
Yes.
And it may sound like
Oh, I don't think we're on the same card. That more sounds like your sound in the bathroom. I didn't realize that Tuck bathroom break was a magic card.
How dare you?
3, 2, 1.
Elephant grass. Is the bargain still on?
Dormammu, I have a bargain for you.
So good. So elephant grass is a 1-drop. It's 1 green mana for a enchantment from Visions. I think it's an uncommon. No, wait, it's actually part of the reserved list. So if you want your own piece of Magic history, it costs you $2.57. Cumulative upkeep of 1, as discussed, same rigmarole as Mystic Remora. Black creatures cannot attack you. Non-black creatures cannot attack you unless their controller pays an additional 2 for each attacking creature. And this is a new voice for Kasib Ibn Naji letters. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, time out. 1 second. You might be off the hook here. It says letter? I guess that is a person. Yeah, okay. You're back on the hook.
I'm back on the hook. All right. So the voice for this, I'm going to go the young elephant from Jungle Book.
I have no idea what this was.
How have I angered nature that she would imprison me in the labyrinth of grass?
I like that. I like that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like that quite a bit. If I'm
you will have to explain that going forwards because I will forget that.
Yeah, I have no clue what that.
Yeah, it's like the little baby elephant from Jungle Book. He had like the red hair, was friends with Mowgli.
Wait, is this from the
whiny, high pitched voice?
Is this from the Jon Favreau remake, or is this from the original?
This is from like the 1950s,
the Disney one. Yes. But he's
always like scared of stuff.
Yes. Okay. So this is another card that like is practically unplayable in a lot of decks. I would say all, but this card, it really shines. So I don't run the best blue card ever printed, Propaganda, or any of those other sort of effects because this card is so good. This is like a snap grab for the Great Breaker Lamia. It buys you so much time, and again, this is a card that you can keep in your opener and know that you're going to have value throughout the entire game using it. And as opposed to just like waiting for the right moment.
So the thing I like the most about this card, like we've talked about the cumulative upkeep advantage with Muldrotha, so we'll just leave that there.
Sure.
But the black creatures cannot attack you, I think is super relevant. I don't think it's going to help you against like token strategies because there's not many like token strategies that deal with black. Zombies, I wouldn't even say is something that's really a token strategy. You just get incidental zombie tokens.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so many very powerful cards either are mono black or have black in their color CMC, not necessarily color identity, because those are two different things. And so I think this is going to save you actually more often than not from a lot of stuff just incidentally. Like, well, I guess I can't, I don't know, swing attacks at you. I just wanted to get my lifelink and a little bit of damage in, but like crap.
Yeah, can't get
black in it. I can't do anything. So yeah, I think this card, once again, like Mystic Remora, actually a little bit worse than Mystic Remora. Mystic Remora at least has a home in CEDH. Yeah. I don't think Elephant Grass has a home in anything outside of Muldrotha, just being honest. Maybe an Enchantress deck, just because it's a cheap enchantment. And I run Mystic Remora in my Enchantress deck, so like maybe that's a thing. Like, I'll just throw it in. Worst case, I paid a green, wasted a card slot, but it drew me maybe like 3 cards. I got a couple triggers, whatever it is. But yeah, in a Muldrotha deck, woof.
Oh, it's one of the best cards in the deck, for sure.
All right. Well, my last one, because we shared that, it's Golgari. It has quite the deed that is pernicious.
Oh,
Pernicious deed is so good. Busted in this deck. So, colorless Golgari, black-green. It's a mythic. It's an enchantment at like $5.50. Pay X colorless, so pay whatever you want. Sacrifice Pernicious Deed as well. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with converted mana cost X or less.
It's
a lot of times, towards end of games, could go X for 5 or less. board wipe the board. Muldrotha stays. Let me pay 3 to get the Pernicious Deed back out. I'm ready to go next turn. And you basically have a certain stone-like effect that some people do the rigmarole with. You kind of get that where you get the constant board wipe, or the Neverall's disc with the Darksteel Forge. Like, I got an Indestructible Nev's disc. I'm just going to do this forever. It definitely gives you that control aspect, but it's nice because it does give you flexibility to, you know what, there's really nothing out here that I have mana I'd like to put into other things or bring the deed back out, but there's a lot of tokens. Let me just pay 0, sack it, get rid of all the tokens, and then I'll play it again for 3. And maybe now I don't know. Maybe those death triggers got people's stuff, and now I do it again. Gives you a lot of flexibility.
I completely agree. I like this card. It's one of my favorite board wipes, especially on an enchantment. But that's again goes back to, okay, I played my Pernicious Deed. I have the Rattlesnake, but now I'm getting beat up on tokens. I'm getting beat up on Drakes. I'm getting that sort of thing. Do I want to crack it now, or do I want to wait for something I can't deal with? And that's what I think that, like, you hit the nail on the head of. That's like the stacks aspect of this. It's less stacks of like making the game more difficult from like a cost perspective, and more of a stacks of like this deck dictates the flow of the game. It dictates how fast it goes and dictates how slow it goes. And again, that 3 mana spot makes this so easy to crack over and over and over again. Again, like another.
And Tuck, I'm sorry, I disappointed you. There is flavor text from Freyalise herself. Do we have a voice for
We do not. We do not have a Freyalise yet. So you got another one ready to go.
Let's see. I feel like Freyalise.
I would think. Have you ever seen the movie Atomic Blonde?
No.
Okay.
I'm actually thinking like Elizabeth Swann from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, all right. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Because like I'm picturing her Planeswalker card, not so much this art, but her Planeswalker card, she kind of looks like a pirate.
Yeah, she's got the eye patch.
She eventually becomes a pirate. All right. Gosh. Yawgmoth, Freyalise whispered as she set the bomb. Now you will pay for your treachery.
Oh yeah.
I can't really do a British voice. I mean, I could put an Australian spin on it.
That was decent. That was
okay.
Decent.
I mean, it wasn't like I was in the room with Keira Knightley, but you know, I was like maybe like in the same apartment complex, right?
I mean, you're also like, I need the visual of Keira Knightley. It's not the same thing, but not bad, not bad.
She's good. No, I was upset. She got nude in that movie Domino. That movie sucks, and that was also disappointing. So. Not a great day for Sam Tucker in college.
Well, you know.
All right, Tuck. Well, I think you got 2 cards to talk about. What do you got?
So they're both enchantments, and one of them fits in the perfect 3 slot as always. Lunar Force, 2 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. It's from Eldritch Moon. It costs 11 cents. When an opponent casts a spell, sacrifice Lunar Force and counter that spell. And this will be read by. God damn it! Are you serious? This RNG is
Nightly.
No.
I'm telling you, we got to get you a new number generator.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one on my phone. It's stupid. Moonlight offers sublime warmth that brings me a comfort, motherfucker. Sunlight cannot provide. So there's Samuel Jackson, but I can't. You have to scream it. So,
well, I know, but yeah, you're worried about the lady upstairs.
Next door.
Sorry, next door.
So this card is for the mana that puts into it. I've seen this is something that's made this like sub game of. You don't like it?
Out of here.
Oh, you're crazy. It's so much fun. Like it baits people into it. Again, it's something that you can play early. I've seen this cast and people don't do anything for like 2 turns in a row. That's my cat, by the way. He's starting to like the couch, which is better than inside and underneath the bed.
What's up, Bubs?
So I have liked this spell. It has gotten me tons of value before. It is kind of fringe because someone could just cast a elf or whatever, a mana rock late in the game and eat it. But for me, because I can't run traditional counters, this has done a lot of work for me.
I hear you. I respect you, but I'm cutting this card, and I'll talk about why later.
Okay.
But I think on a surface level, it is a mini game. That is something you enjoy.
Yes.
I don't think I saw a Monarch card in the deck, which was shocking.
No, I don't. I can't even think of what I would put in.
I mean, the Black Court wouldn't be terrible.
That's not a bad idea. Oh, all the courts.
Whoa.
So, it's not my kind of game. I'm not into the mini game within a game unless we're trying to do a mini game like Plane Chase or Kingdom or something like that. So it's all right, but I have a better game-winning type of card that I'll replace it with.
And again, I have other effects that do this thing very similar.
Sure. All right, Tuck. What is going to be your last card?
So this is another one that when it got, the deck came out after this got printed, but after I did some research, this one is a monster removal spell. So Sinister Concoction, 1 black for an enchantment. It's an uncommon from Shadows over Innistrad. Black, pay a life, put the top card of your library into your graveyard, discard a card, sacrifice Sinister Concoction, destroy target creature.
A lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. Oh, here we go. Fresh off of... We did get a new one here. Oh, God. Okay, so the young elephant would read this card. Something like... An old family recipe for an old family grudge. I don't know what I'm doing.
It would be like an old family recipe for an old family grudge.
Like more whiny, yeah. Okay, I
need you to do it again. You need to do it again.
It's high pitched, it's whiny, and it's like you're very concerned.
When you gotta get your reps in.
When you're doing that thing, it kind of reminded me of Dumbo, so that kind of helped me get locked in as well. Okay. An old family recipe for an old family grudge. So
you still sound like an old time prospector.
I have like 4 voices.
It does kind of sound already like an old time prospector.
I have like 4 voices.
Let me go pen for gold.
I have 4 voices, all right? So leave me alone. But so I have like the other seals in here, which are just like enchantment versions of similar spells. And I had the Seal of Doom, but this is so much better. So literally, like we just talked about, it's effectively pay a black, pay a life, draw a card, and then put a card that you can play later from your hand into the graveyard. I also like the fact that it's any target creature, right? So it's not beholden to like non-black, non-artifact, that sort of thing. And this has been one again where it's being able to get that loop, continually refilling my graveyard, continually having things to play, being able to know down the line from my hand what I want to get into my graveyard that I don't have the mana to cast. It's just bonkers for 1 mana. Over and over again.
Another point is it doesn't say opponent creatures either. So we just talked about Springbloom Druid. It could be something you get this early enough in the game. It's like, well, I got nothing else to do. I'll do all this stuff, sack the Springbloom Druid, then play it out of the graveyard with Muldrotha. And essentially at that time, I have put the enchantment in the graveyard, a card from my hand in the graveyard, the top card of my library in the graveyard, and a land in the graveyard, all for the sweet, sweet cost of 4 mana. 3 for the Springbloom, 1 for that card to activate. So,
it's really good.
And I really like cards like this. And I get it, Elephant Grass doesn't necessarily fit that, but it does to me. These cards that when a certain legendary thing, it could be Planeswalker or Commander, comes out, and it all of a sudden makes all of these cards that which usually would be draft fodder actually really good effective cards to play, or very old antiquated out of date cards. It actually makes it legitimate to play. So it's kind of cool that you're able to find this dime card a home, and it is so powerful in this Muldrotha.
Exactly. So it was an easy add when I found one. The only thing I hate about that, and I had to go through this with my new mono black Toshiro deck, is like, okay, do I really want to pay 10 cents to get this shipped to me, and then I have to make up $20? So it's like, I guess I'll get a fetch land or something. That's the only bitch of that. And that's again where it's like, oh, if only I'd kept my draft fodder, but then you have all these piles of cards. It's like a no-win situation.
Yep. You are in the, what's that in Star Trek?
The Nexus?
Shinobi.
It's not Myers-Briggs. What is that? Oh, it's going to drive me insane. Hold on, I gotta figure that out.
I feel like there's a K in there.
It's like the
Myru Kinobi.
That's so
Myra.
close. Kobayashi Maru. There it is.
Kobayashi
Yes.
There we go. Yes. When you deal with very cheap draft fodder, it is like the Kobayashi Maru. There is no good way to do it.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap up the hops and now head over to how this deck maybe wins. Not a lot of options.
No.
BigTuck, you've been talking for a while. You're going to keep talking. Okay. What's your first game-winning card?
I don't know. I have not ever cast this card. I've drawn it once, and I have no idea if it's good, but I was kind of panicking when I was building this, just being like, I have to have something in here that does. I have to have some like big splashy card in here. And one of the ones that I just happened to have lying around was a Shapeshifter. And again, it's a card that could be good on its face, but again, I have no frame of reference for if it is or not. So, but it is big and splashy and dumb, and a Progenitor Mimic kind of fits that bill for sure. So 4 colorless and Simic, that's green and blue. For a creature shapeshifter, it's a rare sitting in about $1.84. Sorry, check that. Mythic rare? I can't tell.
Mythic.
No, that's just a rare.
It's a rare, okay.
A regular rare.
Regular rare. So it's a 0/0. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, at the beginning of your upkeep, if this creature isn't a token, create a token that's a copy of this creature. So, like, I have a lot. One of the sub-themes in here that I'm considering exploring further is, like, enter the battlefield effects. And I do have a lot of creatures that have pretty solid enter the battlefield effects. The problem is that when this is out, when you get to cast this late game, it usually just dies removal before you can ever come around. And I think, like, again, it's one of those ones where it's like, it's a big dumb beater card that could make more dumb beater cards, but I have zero data if this is something that is even effective. So it's a card that has the ceiling's very high on it, but the floor doesn't do much, right? So it could be a game that it could be a win on cast, but it could also be something that just dies and then I just lose anyways.
I mean, you could really just say this card is space. At one end, the possibilities are endless. At the other end, it sucks.
It's a black hole.
So I'm not cutting this card, but I do think to leave it in the deck, because you don't really have anything in the deck that if you made a copy of it, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
Game breaking. So I think if you're going to run it in here, you would need to kind of alter your strategy and have it be more Sultai permanence tokens.
Right.
Because if you had like a doubling season, a parallel lives, any type of token enablers, hell, the new one from the Simic deck. There we go.
Ooh. Just take that apart and just put all that into there. That's kind of sexy.
Wheels are a turning.
So I feel like you need something to do with the Mimic that is memorable within the deck, and your deck doesn't really have it because any of your memorable stuff through Legends, which you wouldn't be able to do that. And once again, I'm very anti. Don't put a card in a deck where you're 100% banking on what your opponents have.
Right, yeah.
Unless that is what your deck's trying to do. Like my Empress Galena, the deck is whatever its power level is what your power levels are, because I'm just going to make my deck your deck.
Exactly.
Your deck's not trying to do that. This is just a flavor card in here that is probably more spice than anything, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Because you don't have anything in the deck that's worth really copying that you would get to keep. So just my 2 cents. I think Progenitor Mimic is a very fun card, but you probably need more token things in here to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, that tracks.
All right. Once again, Tuck baited me. He knew I couldn't resist. It's one of my favorite cards. I've had it in my Karametra deck since day one. It's an enchantment, green. It's a defense of the heart. I love this card.
Yeah.
I love this card.
Oh,
I love
baby.
this card. And I can do this off memory. It's just 3 colorless green. It's an enchantment. During your upkeep, and if opponent has, I believe it's 3 or more creatures, sacrifice defense of the heart, go tutor your library for any 2 creature cards and put them on the battlefield. Shuffle your library.
So bonkers.
Once again, though, like, I mean, I guess in this, you go get your 1 creature for your quote-unquote win con, and maybe another creature that ETBs and tutors for your other, kind of the other piece of the win con that you need. So I guess it could kind of get you there. I just look at this as we maybe get this deck a little bit more focused on trying to end the game, not saying turn it into competitive, but actually give it to where, oh yeah, like beating face is a normal thing I do because I got Beastmaster's Ascension. And
right, yeah.
Like if we could figure out some way to make this thing pop, getting any 2 creatures you need from the deck, because let me tell you, I've done this on turn 4 in my Karametra deck and went and got Avacyn Angel of Hope and Sigarda Host of Herons, and everyone wets themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely backbreaking. And with Muldrotha, because if someone had 3 or more creatures, okay, I'm going to sack it. And by the way, I'm going to play it again with Muldrotha.
Exactly.
After I have those 2 creatures. And most likely someone else probably still has 3 or more creatures, because it doesn't say 3 or more creatures than you. It's just 3 or more creatures.
Exactly, right.
So
it's
even
so
that same
stupid.
person, I could just target them again and go get another 2 creatures, play it again with Muldrotha. This card, I will, once again, this is another expensive card coming at a little under $16 that I think is actually worth its weight in virtual money.
Well, and it used to be way more, and I actually cracked one in my mystery booster, and that drove the price down a bunch.
Nice.
So it took me a while. It was funny where it's like one of those cards that I cracked, and I was like, oh, this is a card I've wanted for so long, right? And then it literally sat in my binder for like 2 months because I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So yeah, I think it's not near as backbreaking as it is in a lot of other decks, but just the value of going and getting, whatever creature, an acidic slime, and a caustic caterpillar, and being able to do that repeatedly.
Grain card.
Pardon?
Sounds like the perfect grain card.
It kind of is. But again, I don't have that many ways to win, and I'm assuming that this is at least going to help me get there.
All right, Tuck. What is your next yeast card?
So this one also fits the same bill as what we just talked about, but this card's helped me so much. It's a monster that also might be a bit of a frog in your throat.
3, 2, 1.
The Gitrog monster.
3 colorless Golgari legendary creature frog horror mythic 6/6.
It's 6/6. Yes, so it has Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sack the Gitrog monster unless you sacrifice a land. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever 1 or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. Holy shit, this card is so awesome.
But I'm confused. How is this a game-winning card and not just a grain value engine?
Because every time I've played it, this has gotten me to get through the win faster. So again, if we're looking at cards that actually win the game and make a difference, every time I played this card in this deck, and I've been trying to find a home for the Gitrog monster for forever, right? I don't want to build a Gitrog deck, but every time I've played it, it has been the card that has either won me the game or has kept me alive long enough to win the game. And it's because of the value engine that comes from it.
But wouldn't you argue, like, there's lots of cards that have value engines or can get you the card that you need to win the game? Like, I wouldn't say a Tutor is a Yeast game-winning card, because that gets you your game-winning card, and then that would actually be the Yeast card.
I guess, but in this one, because the options are so limited from being a permanent, this one has more of an impact than it would in most decks that it's running. At least that's been my experience with it, right? Where this has been one of the cards whenever I played it, people like wet themselves for some reason, and then I get whatever incremental value that I need to get to the win con. And again, this is another card where like you can't copy it with Progenitor Mimic, but in this deck, a 6/6 with Death Touch is like been enough to win me the game off of just that as well, with the stapled value on top of it.
Yeah, I mainly put it here because I do think it's a great fit in a Muldrotha deck. I don't think it's a game winner, but I think this card's worth talking about because usually the big negative behind a Gitrog monster being in the 99 and not the commander is usually you're not building it like a normal Gitrog deck or Lord, because I run this in Lord Windgrace where you have 48 lands, so the upkeep sack land isn't a big deal. But
exactly.
In Muldrotha, I actually think it's great because you can do 2 things. You can sack the land and then just play it again with Muldrotha if you have no lands in hand. Or the funnier one is just sacrifice the Gitrog monster and then play it again for 5, and you didn't even have to lose a land if you didn't have lands to play and you couldn't further your board state. So that's amazing. And whenever the 1 or more lands are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. We've talked about you have lots of mill from the top of library,
exactly.
Card from hand, sack a land to go get 2 basics. So you're going to be getting a lot of card draw, and you're obviously not going to see the value you see from a Gitrog led deck, but I would imagine you're going to see a lot of value.
Exactly. So that's why I put it in the East, and again, there wasn't that many options, so I kind of cheesed just like I did on the theme of the deck.
Such a cheese.
Cheesed it.
Well, my last one is Squee McGee's favorite land. Absolute favorite. It's a banger. It's a chasm. It's Glacial Chasm.
Yeah, it's so good.
So this is a land from Ice Age. It's at $3.60 some odd cents.
Oh, not bad.
This one also has a cumulative upkeep, but this one's 2 life. When Glacial Chasm comes into play, sack a land. You cannot attack. All damage dealt to you is reduced to 0. So I see how this one is a game winner in Muldrotha, but this one I think is one that you have to play very smart.
Correct.
Because like we've talked about with the other cumulative upkeep things, it's like, oh, just let it die and then you can play it again with Muldrotha. But every time you play this, you have to sack a land. So you have to start figuring out, when is it better to pay my life and when is it better to sack a land to be able to keep people from doing damage to me. So yeah, I mean, this could be like one of these like weird things where it's like you're paying your life, but then maybe you want to swing with a creature with lifelink. Then it's like, well, I can't really, so now I got to sack it to go swing and maybe gain some life. But then when I play it back out because I need it, I'm gonna have to then lose another land. So it is this tightrope you walk on,
yes,
which I like. That's very interesting. But this card does warp games, especially ones that don't live in the red zone.
Exactly, and like being able to play this early and stave off a huge wave of like a Gira deck or something along those lines, and then being able to get that loop like you just talked about, it is tough. And I actually haven't been able to play this card in this deck, so don't have any data for you. But I'm hoping one day, perhaps, I'll be able to tutor it out.
Doubtful.
All right. Kid, doubt.
Tuck, what is your last?
So this is the one of the rigmarole, and there's 3 different ways we can talk about it, but this is the winning card of it, which is Time Stream Navigator. So colorless in the blue for a creature, human, pirate, wizard. It's a mythic rare. Human. Let me reread that because I was wrong. Creature, human, pirate, wizard, Harry. Thank you very much. It's a 1/1 with Ascend. If you control 10 or more permanents, you gain the same blessings for the rest of the game. 2 colors, 2 blue, tap. Put Time Stream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library. Take an extra turn after this one. Activate this ability only if you have the city's blessing. So effectively what this loop looks like is if you can, and I've actually won this way before several times because I've been able to delay the inevitable long enough with all like my lunar forces of the world, where you can Primal Surge, get your entire graveyard, get your entire deck onto the battlefield because it's all permanents. And then with the mana rocks that you would have pulled out of your deck from that, you can tap this, attach. It also is fragile because you have to attach the Greaves to it. You pay the mana, take an extra turn, loop goes on, make a gazillion Progenitor Mimic tokens, so on and so forth. So I've actually been able to do that a lot. And as much as I hate these sort of like infinite loops, it does end the game. Like it's pretty much game over when it happens. And then the big stopping point there is you have to get up to, 10 mana to cast Primal Surge when I have no access to ramp in the form of instants and sorceries. So that's kind of the main win con of the deck. I don't have a ton of ways to tutor for it. I don't have a ton of ways to get there. So it's rare when it happens. I think in probably the 10 times I played this deck, I've done it once or twice. But that's sort of the main loop to win, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
It's definitely a Rube Goldberg machine of sorts.
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't really call it a Rube Goldberg machine because it's not like I do this and do that. Anytime you have Primal Surge is like, so you do Primal Surge first. It's like, okay, this isn't a Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, this is just how it works.
Yeah, because in theory, you could get out your pieces of your Rube Goldberg machine without Primal Surge and still be able to do it. This doesn't work without Primal Surge.
Correct.
So this is just a get everything out of the library. I would honestly say... this just seems so fragile.
Oh, it's extremely fragile.
Because you have to be able to attack to be able to do the thing. Because you have to be able to do damage. Because you don't have any ways in here to like infinitely mill people out yet. But we're still talking about the deck as constructed.
Sure.
So the deck as constructed, it just seems like a way to say, hey, I did Primal Surge. All right.
On to the next one.
That's all I got. And maybe sometimes you win, but all it takes, man. Oh, Time Stream Navigator. Let me try to put Lightning Greaves. Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, here we are. But I'd rather go out in a blaze of Time Stream Navigator than not have it in the deck. So there you have it. I've also
Well,
ironically never drawn or played it outside of that loop, which is also strange.
Well, that's going to wrap up yeast. Now we're going to head over to spice. This will be real quick and short. There's literally 3 options, and Tuck knows I can't resist a planeswalker. So,
Are you doing it?
Oh, are you doing it as well?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. This is actually my OG favorite planeswalker of all time. I think this card has a home in almost every Dimir deck, to be honest, especially in Commander. Ashiok Nightmare Weaver is probably... And I don't care, y'all can fight me, one of the best planeswalkers ever printed because it is so versatile. Colorless Dimir, blue-black, planeswalker Ashiok Mythic from Theros. It comes in with 3 loyalty and it has 3 activated abilities. +2, exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. Tuck and Squee can speak to this. I run this in my Planeswalker deck, and I have done that +2 to where Ashiok's like at 15 loyalty, 19 loyalty, and I have exiled so many cards, but it's kind of cool because this plays into what Tuck likes to do with the politics, because he may choose Squee for the first activation, and then Squee gets all butthurt, but then Tuck, next turn is like, hey, Squee, it's cool. I'm going to do it to Mr. Combo now.
Exactly.
And then he doesn't Mr. Combo. And then he can kind of space it out, or it's like if someone's an arch enemy, like a Forest Day 2 Wong, or a Terrifying Tyler, or an MTG Lord of Leaves, because they're all on notice. He can just target that one person over and over and say, hey, table, I'm going to drain them of their library. I'm not even going to do the other effects.
Right.
Look, I get butthurt and then takes hurt. Oh, that sounds weird.
Oh, that
where are you going? I was going to say, where are you going with this exactly?
Well, no, I don't like where that went. I'm just going to go ahead and bleep myself.
Redacted bit.
-X is its second ability. Put a creature card with converted mana cost X exiled with Ashiok Nightmare Weaver onto the battlefield under your control. It's also a nightmare in addition to its other types. So yeah, you can get incidental creature value out of it, but really it's the +2 that's the rock star and the showstopper. The -10's fine. Exile all cards from all opponents' hands or graveyards. Obviously, the hands is interesting if someone has no maximum hand size, but the graveyards, it'd be better just to get the other Ashiok and you can just exile everyone's graveyards immediately. But I love this card. I'm so I get it. It has nothing to do with your deck at all, but I love it so much.
Well, and it's kind of like the cycle you want to get in this is you +2 -X, +2 -X, and cast it for 3 over and over and over again, right? So that's like the loop that I've gotten into before, to be able to be like, well, okay, I exiled something that costs 4. I don't care if it dies if you attack it. Now I can just get it going again. And that's why most of these low to the ground planeswalkers that only cost 3 or whatever are so valuable. But yeah, this is definitely a spice in this, because there's times where you don't hit anything and then it gets killed immediately, and then I have other stuff to cast to do things with.
All right, Tuck. Are you talking about claws?
No, I'm actually gonna cut. I'm gonna cut claws.
Interesting.
But no, I'm talking about the bobs, baby. The bobs. So Mishra's Bobble,
not the bubs, but the
bobs is an all-star in this deck. I swear to God, every time I played it, it has drawn me like 5 to 10 cards. So Mishra's Bobble is.
Tuck, before you read it, I'm going to tell a quick 15-second story to the collective, because I'm starting to tear up thinking about it. I don't know if Tuck remembers this, but I had like 10, 15 Mishra's Baubles sitting in my junk box. I thought it was a trash card, worth nothing. I think I gave them all away because I thought they were just bulk uncommons.
Oh, no.
Come to find out, I probably gave away like $15, $20, $30 worth of cards.
Yeah,
just no big deal.
It's played in something like
give it a single tear of remembrance. Pour that one out onto the ground.
Yeah, pour it out.
One out for my homies.
Just cry out the drugs. So
it's no big deal. I had 8 Force of Wills when I was a child. It's fine.
There you go.
Everything's fine.
So Mishra's Bauble is a 0-drop artifact. It's an uncommon coming in for about $3, and that's low. It used to be like 5 or 8. And it's tap, sack, look at the top card of target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of the next player's upkeep. Let's see what we have here. Oh my God, are you kidding?
Do we have... Oh, you did randomize. What'd you get?
Arkham is a babbling fool. Phyrexian technology is our greatest blessing. Take this delightful trinket, for instance. Hide our renewed Sorcerer Supreme for the 4th time. I'm gonna download a random number generator on my phone so fast after this. So it looks really innocuous, and it pretty much is. But the reason why these zero drops like this Lotus Petal are so good is because you want to be able to do stuff from your graveyard as much as possible. So having these artifacts and enchantments that cost so little will enable you to get their value over and over and over again on subsequent turns. The same argument could be made for the claws, but I'll explain as to why I don't particularly care for it and why it hasn't really worked for me. So again, I have no way to deal with other people's top of library outside of like Ashiok and maybe one other card. So it's mostly just there for a 0-drop draw every turn for free.
Yeah, but it is good to... know
at least have an idea of what's coming up down the pipe.
People play Sensei's Divining Top. People play Sylvan Library, Squirrel Rack, Vampiric Tutor. I mean, there's a lot of things that people do with it. We didn't talk about it earlier, but it could be one of those things to where you activate your Alchemist Refuge because someone Vamp Tutor to the top, play Bauble for free, and then it's like, okay, what would you go get? And I'm going to tattletale on you and be the Art of the Squeal for the table.
Love it. Love it.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the spice package, and now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, these are BigTuck and I's cuts and adds to the deck. They're going to be under $5, under $50, and a no-budget recommendation. The only restriction is no mana-only lands. So BigTuck, your deck, as tradition, start us off. What are you going to cut for your under $5 ad?
We've cut this card so many times, and I hate to do it again.
Wait, hold on. I didn't see Rampaging Baloths.
Oh, great point. This is a Planeswalker, and maybe I don't know. I am going to cut, my first cut's going to be Nissa, Steward of Elements.
Yeah, me too.
So, but like I played against this on a stream, and this card destroyed us, and I can't remember why. Like maybe someone made like infinite mana or something. I don't remember. But X colorless, green blue. It's legendary Planeswalker Nissa that comes with X loyalty counters. I think where does it say that? I don't know. It just does. So +2 scry 2 0. Look at the top card of the library. If it's a land card or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa Steward Elements, you may put that card onto the battlefield. -6, untapped up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elemental creatures with flying and haste until end of turns. They're still lands. So this
And just real quick, just for the audience, when kind of Tuck was asking about like where does it say that? Literally, Wizards just put X in the CMC and X in the loyalty counter, right. So it's just assumed X to X.
Yeah. So this is a card that, like, again, on the surface should be a slam dunk, right? It costs 2-ish, 3 really is a minimum. It's got sort of relevant abilities, but every time I've done this, the problem is that the creature curve, the ones I want to get out, cost like 6. And I'm not going to dump 8 into a Planeswalker on the chance that I'm going to hit a creature or maybe a forest, right? It just doesn't seem, and the Scry 2 is fine, but like I think there's more efficient draw spells and that sort of thing in the deck too. So I don't know. I want to like this card so much, but I just do not think it works.
I'm in the same boat as you. I remember this card getting previewed, and I was like, "Oh man,
this is incredible!
Oh, this thing is sweet!
Yeah,
like X could be anything. It could be a boat.
It could be a creature. Who knows?"
And it's just, especially in Muldrotha, because the whole thing behind Muldrotha with your current build is I'm looking for soul tie value.
Yeah.
Having to pay, let's just call it 7 to consistently get enough value from this to work. Paying 7 for a Planeswalker from the graveyard or from your hand, there's better 7
It should do something, right? Yeah.
Yes. Not just maybe it does something, but all right. I'm glad we both agreed on cutting it. What are you going to add?
So this is one that I have lying around, and I think there's actually 2 cards that come with this that I think are equally valuable. But this card I think is going to get to a win con faster. So I think Gerard Golgari Lichlord is a pretty easy sub in for a way to actually start training people out. So the problem is double black, double green. Yikes for a mythic rare legendary creature zombie elf. It's a 2/2. Gerard Golgari Lichlord gets +1/+1 for each creature card in their graveyard. Fits that bill there. Colorless, black and a green. Sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature power. Sacrifice a swamp in a forest. Return Gerard from your graveyard to your hand. So for me, I just like the idea, and this used to be my Golgari deck. And honestly, if I'm going to put him in, I'll probably put Lord of Extinction in as well to do that loop like we've talked about in the past. But I think even then, just being able to sacrifice things, deal a bunch of damage potentially, 6, 5, whatever it is, and then being able to cast them back out and get that value for the 3 mana, to me seems like it's well worth the value. It sucks that he can't sacrifice himself, because I could see him getting very large as I continue to fill up the yard. But to me, this gives me at least an outlet to deal damage and end the game. That's not just like brute force attacking with 4 creatures.
Yeah, I do agree. It's at least a way that you could win the game, especially with like a Glacial Chasm in play.
Right.
You don't have to rely on the red zone. I do like that. Second thing, there's no way they could allow him to sacrifice himself, considering if they did that, it'd be a colorless Golgari, sack himself, he does the damage, but then you could sack a swamp and a forest to bring him now back to your game.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep the loop going.
It would kind of be this like loop thing that you couldn't stop, even the Lord of Extinction's a loop.
Yeah, exactly. What's the difference?
So that's the second point. Third point, I like where your head is at. I just need you to get bigger creatures, or creatures that could potentially be bigger in the deck to make it worth it.
Right.
I don't think it's worth, when you're doing cuts to a deck that you've had, to me, I don't think it's worth your time to cut cards out to put in maybe even cards that are on par or just a slight bit above. Usually you're looking for like an upgrade. Like you and I have so many decks. If we're going to take the time to upgrade our decks, we're not looking for a little bit better. We're looking for like, hopefully this makes an impact.
True.
And just right now with the creatures that you have, I don't see the impact.
But if I cut
at.
2 creatures for this and Lord of Extinction with the other tutors that I have, that's the impact that we could go for. Because that's the win. That's the win. That's the win here, and being able to get it out easy, way easier than I could even that deck. That's where I think I would go with Gerard. I don't think I'd put one in without the other. If you know what I mean.
All right. Well, like I talked about, I'm cutting the Nissa as well. Get out of here. And, our boy Tuck, he has a fetish for this Planeswalker. He already has 1 copy of her in the deck. But how about another version of her in the deck? Because I think this card is a banger when it comes to a Muldrotha.
Is it my
Vraska Golgari Queen?
Oh, interesting.
Is I think a great card for this. So 2 colorless Golgari, that's black and green. It's a mythic Vraska Planeswalker, comes in with 4 loyalty, and it has 3 effects. +2, you may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card. You're putting stuff to the graveyard, your whole deck is permanents, life gain may not be inconsequential, and you get to draw a card. So basically, you paid 4, gained a life, and essentially drew 2 cards, 1 to hand, 1 to graveyard. Ooh. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with CMC 3 or less. You've talked a lot about how your permanents are CMC 3 or less. Maybe you want to reuse your other Ashiok uncommon, and it's like, hey, you know what, I'll down tick this thing to blow it up to get it back up to 5 to kind of keep doing that train, or get rid of a problem permanent that your opponents have. -9 is actually where I think this is pretty interesting, because I think Muldrotha can actually get it there.
Right.
You get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. We talked about you needed ways to end the game. That's a way that you can
pretty easy way to do it. Yeah.
Has it in the text.
You have flyers. You have ways to, potentially upgrade to do evasion. You could throw your Rogue's Passage in the deck. Still a colorless land that taps for mana. So I think the +2 is really the reason you'd put a Vraska in here. I know it's 1 more mana than your 3, but gaining life, drawing a card, getting rid of a permanent on your board, removal for your opponents. This basically is a grain, hops, yeast card
all in one. Yeah. And again, it's a 4-drop, so it's easy to bring back. Love me some Planeswalkers, especially if you're comparing Planeswalkers to Planeswalker. This gives you like 10 times more value out of it. Love it.
Completely agree. All right, Tuck, what are you going to cut for your $50 ad?
So I have 3 cards of the ones, my 3 cuts. One of them actually is going to win me the game. One of them is just a straight upgrade, and one of them is me losing my damn mind. So this is the straight upgrade. So I'm going to cut Runescarred Demon, which I do have my yeast. And
really,
listen, I found we can do better, right?
All right.
So Runescarred Demon is solid. 5 colorless, black for a creature demon. It's a 6/6 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. The litany of the oh wait, sorry, what am I doing? Some random voice? That's not gonna work.
You can't randomize your own
what the hell? What are we talking about here? Okay. I'm not going to be able to do this one, so I'm just going to try to go for it.
Who is it?
Oberon Martell. The litany of the...
You talk mysterious.
Mysterious, okay. I don't even know, man.
Listen, here's a quote that he would be like, "Listen, little Lannister.
God, okay.
I am Oberyn Martell.
Yeah, with the roll.
Prince of Dawn.
The roll in the R's, okay.
Yeah.
The litany of the Inferno on his flesh pulses to the beating of his dark heart."
Oh,
I kind of got Irish there in the end.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
I like that a lot.
Thank you. Like I said, my brain is not functioning. Period. So, great card, but I think it's just gotten outclassed over the years. The one I'm adding in is fresh off the presses from Kaldheim, and it's like $2. So, Burning Ruin Demon, not Rune Scarred, but Burning Ruin. So, 4 colorless, black for a creature demon berserker 6/6. It's a mythic with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Ruin Demon that have different names. If you do, reveal those cards. An opponent chooses one of them, put the chosen card into your hand and the other into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So, for 1 mana less, you're getting to draw 2 cards, and the only difference is your opponent knows what it is. But it's not going to matter because I'm getting a card with Runescarred Demon. It's not going to be something that I'm going to blanket statement just throw out there. I'm probably going to get like a ramp and something else. So the fact that it goes into your graveyard to me is effectively meaningless.
But isn't your win con Primal Surge, which is a sorcery?
It is.
You can't get that back with Muldrotha.
It is now, but again, I'm not tied to that. That's just the way I built the deck. And I'd rather have something like this that would give me value to at least get to the point where I can cast Primal Surge. Because even if I get it with Runescarred Demon, I still can't cast it for another 3 turns. And by then I'm probably going to already be dead.
No one knows what you have.
But like,
you can have anything. It could be a vehicle.
It could be, yeah, exactly. I have Bomac Cruiser in here, and no one's the wiser. So for me, I don't really care, and this deck isn't streamlined to the point where I give a shit about what opponents see and what I actually am putting into my graveyard or not. So
and I'm fine with that.
For a minute,
sorry, you and I are on the same page with that.
Correct.
I understand your playstyle. You don't care if they know what you have. And I'm on board, and I don't like it, but I understand that you like it. The issue I have with this is we've already talked about how your deck doesn't have a lot of ways to win the game, considering you had to kind of like force feed the section to actually have things to talk about. So I think cutting a card, because like you said, you don't have a lot of ways to tutor.
Right.
This card is the only way to tutor your deck for Primal Surge.
So, okay, but listen to me here, right? If I cut Primal Surge, then any card that I can tutor for, why not? Like we said, it's a flimsy combo at best.
Because hold on to that thought. My personal recommendation will have you win the game with Primal Surge. Actually win the game, not do this flimsy rigmarole.
Okay.
But I will say, Burning Rune Demon, because I do like to talk about the cards that you mentioned. Very cool card. I think this is a great option for a Muldrotha deck.
Sure.
I just don't know if I would cut it Runescarred Demon for it, but definitely you have other stuff in the deck that slam dunk, cut it, let's get this guy out there, because this could be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Where, remember when that ultimatum came out and it says go get 3 monocolored spells of different names, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go get Omniscience, I'll go get Expropriate, and then I'll go get I think it was like Blatant Thievery.
Right, yeah. Like which one do you
goes
want?
To the graveyard, or which ones go out onto the battlefield? Or like which ones do I get to cast for free? And it's like, oh, do I get Expropriate for free? Great. That's like a terrible option. Oh, Omniscience for free? Great. That's a terrible option. And so I feel like Burning Rune Demon, if you do it right, it's like, hey, here you go. And they're like, fuck.
I don't want any of these.
So yeah, very cool. All right. I talked about it earlier. Now I'm actually going to go into the why. I'm cutting Lunar Force.
Okay.
To elaborate, it is a mini game. I understand you like mini games, but I think Commander is wide enough that unless you're playing this Honestly, actually, I can't even think of a good time to play it. Like, unless you're playing this like within your first 3 turns, and it's just like you're screwing everyone over on all their like Soul Ring into the Signet into the ramp.
Sure.
Like even late game, okay, well, I have 14 mana. I'll pay 4 of it to burn this insert card, or 3 mana for Chromatic Lantern. Okay, you countered it. Now I pay for 8 and try to win the game with my game-winning card. I don't think it has a home in constructed singleton formats. I could see it, if it had some sort of play in 60 card, because you could have 4 of them in the deck. That's a little bit different. I think draft, like limited, oh man, this would be a banger.
Yeah, it's really good
in
draft.
Limited. That would just hurt your opponents, because a lot of times they can't play multiple spells a turn anyways. So it's like, when do I want to cast something to get rid of this thing? And then, oh wait, he probably has another one in hand. So I think in other formats it does have a home. Here, I just really don't think it does.
It's done. I can hear where you're coming from, but I'm telling you, it has done value every time I played it. I've played it often.
Well, I'm telling you, this card is going to be better.
Curse Snatcher.
No.
No, you sounded offended.
What's the other one? Draketail Hashling.
I got you another 4 mana spell, so I'm not trying to increase your curve to a whole bunch. But I got you another Planeswalker.
Oh.
Liliana, Waker of the Dead, I think is amazing for this deck. 2
the new
colorless,
one.
black, legendary Planeswalker Liliana from M21 Mythic. It comes in with 4 loyalty. +1. Each player discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. Basically,
Draw a card,
and hurt your opponents. -3. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I have to imagine your graveyard at minimum is going to have 15 to 20 cards in it. So it's basically kill whatever you want. But then the -7. And once again, I really think a Muldrotha deck with... And not trying to make it Super Friends, but a Muldrotha deck that is doing this permanent graveyard thing. Eventually, people are going to get tired of hitting your Planeswalkers and be like, we have to kill him.
Yes, exactly.
So I think you're going to get some ultimates off. So for -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control.
Unreal.
It gains haste. I think, once again, like the other Planeswalker, the Vraska, the plus ability is your grain. The middle minus ability is your hops. It gets rid of permanents with your opponents. And then your -7 is your game winner. Because I do think if you get the ultimate off, it's like the world is your oyster. You had a Shieldred? I'll take a Shieldred out of your graveyard. Oh, you had this other disgusting thing? Let me get that. And you could even combo it to where it's like, hey, I'm going to... Chupacabra, your creature, and then Liliana.
Yeah, it triggers. I'll get it back. Yeah,
and then I'm gonna take it. So I think it could do a lot of creative things for you. But I like the modality that both of these Planeswalkers give you, to where I think at any point in the game you don't feel like you drew a dead card.
I agree with that. Yeah, and like they both don't cost much money. They both have all the abilities. They're in that 4 slot. So yeah, I like all of them. I think that Liliana is a weird one. And I've never seen it play anywhere, even in like dedicated Liliana decks. So I think it would be worth at least... I mean, it's a Planeswalker, right? I'll find a home for it somewhere. If it's not here, it'll be somewhere else.
Yep. All right, Tuck, no budget. What are you going to cut so you can spend all of your hard-earned money?
All $5 of it. I'm actually going to cut Closet Gix. So Closet Gix is a card I really want to work, and it never has. So Closet Gix is 0 colorless. It's an artifact. It's a uncommon. Pay 1, sack a permanent. You gain 1 life. And there is, of course, flavor text. Ooh, new number. Let's see what we have here. Oh God.
Oh, you don't have to do it in a voice. It's not a quote.
Oh, that's a rule?
Yeah, we only do the voices if it's.
I thought it was just always, and I froze up. I thought it was always just. I thought no matter what, its flavor text had to be read. It had to be read. Okay, well, when the Brotherhood of Gix dug out the cave of Kilios, they found that their master's severed hand. They enshrined it, hoping that one day it would point the way to Phyrexia. So this is a card again. It's a 0-drop artifact. You can sack everything that you want to replay it. But here's the thing. like this doesn't help you off of a board wipe, right? Like, oh great, I get to sacrifice my own permanence. There's a run in here when I like Zur and Orb for like the same argument against lands, but the fact that you have to pay 1 mana, and it would be something completely different if it was like pay a mana, sack a permanent, put a 2/2 zombie into play or something like that, right? But like gaining 1 life just doesn't do you anything. So every time I've played it, it's been cute because like I guess I can always play it for 0, but it just doesn't do much.
So, totally hear you. Understand. Couple things to point. One, I think it's hilarious that you can't even run the Cave of Koilos that they found the hand in, because that is off color. That's kind of hilarious. Second thing, I feel like, and this may sound weird, a Muldrotha artifact combo deck. Because I was just thinking about it with like Crack Clan Ironworks, a bunch of these 0 drops.
Oh, I got you even better, my friend, because that would work even better with my personal fix. Because if I can't win with this deck, then by God,
no one can win.
I'll win with yours when I cast Mindslaver over and over and over again.
Jerk.
So Mindslaver is 6 colorless for legendary artifact. It's mythic. 4 colorless and tap. Sack Mindslaver. You control target player during that player's next turn. It's just, I couldn't help myself when I was looking through cards about repeatable engines. It's just the best. This is one of my favorite cards that's ever been printed. You can get a foil version for $3, which I want like 10 of because it's the old artwork that's terrifying. So why not, right? Like we're converting this to Sultai artifacts. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say why you wouldn't do that in a Muldrotha deck. It's kind of disgusting.
It's like when you think about it, it's the same amount of mana that you're paying for like a Primal Surge. And the more we've talked today, the more like I have at least 2 cards in here, like Time Stream Navigator, Primal Surge, Taigam, Sidisi's Hand is a sort of that like they have no purpose outside of just being those cards.
Report. Just casual plug.
So for me, it's like I'm more and more thinking of like, to your point, why even have this super frail combo in here when I have no way to recur it, and there's so many points of failure? Why not just scrap that and just put in cards that are at least fun and could win me the game, right? And Mindslaver again is not like, you know, an expropriate or a time warp, but it can get you to the point where if there's only 2 people left, you can take over that person's turn, you know, kill the next person, they're all tapped out, and then you have your leftover beaters to knock them out, or just like keep looping them over and over and over again in Timeslaver and Mindslaver, where they just aren't gaining any value.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Also, when you said that, I just perused your deck list. How the heck do you not have a Eternal Witness in here?
Because I have the Acolyte of Affliction instead, which for 1 more mana mills me 2, and then the restriction is you can only get a permanent, but that doesn't matter because all my things are permanents.
Yeah, but we talked about your fragility with your Primal Surge. So anyways, that was just something to come out there. But yes, Mindslaver, great card. It's I think that's actually isn't that rated as one of the saltiest cards on EDH right now?
Oh, for sure. It's incredible.
Easily.
I love it.
Yeah, whenever you start controlling other people's turns, people get real pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people
that tends to make people upset.
The people that get pissed about that are the same people that like play like mass land destruction and don't get pissed when other people get upset with them.
BigTuck, if somebody mind-slavered your turn, you'd have a blowout too.
No, I think it's hysterical because I've run this card so many times in my Duretti deck and won with it so many times. It's incredible.
I know, but you'd still have a blowout. You had a couple drinks and you were about to do your thing.
Couple of glasses.
They took your thing and you kick a can into Mr. Compo's TV. It happens.
Couple of glasses of loudmouth soup, notwithstanding.
Loudmouth soup. All right. Well, the card that I'm going to do for the personal, it actually makes your Primal Surge thing work and gives you an alternate option. So I'm actually going to cut a land that I understand the value in Muldrotha, but I actually just don't like it. Cephalid Coliseum.
What?
Or Cephalid Coliseum.
You're a madman.
It's a land for like $7. You can tap it to add a blue to your mana pool, but then that deals a damage to you. So, like, cool. The better part of it is it has thresholds. If you have 7 more cards in your graveyard, you can activate it. Pay a blue, tap, sacrifice the Colosseum. Target player draws 3 cards and discards 3 cards from his or her hand. I get it. It's like you're drawing 6. Whatever. I'm not here for it. I'm not here for it.
What, I understand that you may not like that, but what if I told you that I could order a gold board version of it to put into the deck?
I may just quit tonight. I don't know.
We finally did it.
He's done.
All right.
Episode 197,000. We finally got him to quit.
I did feel bad about making this my personal recommendation because I feel like this is anti what Tuck is. But then he did Mindslaver for his, so I don't feel so bad anymore. Clearly, he's a degenerate. He just needs to realize it one day. So Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, might as well just have it in here, man. Colorless, triple blue, Planeswalker Jace. It's a rare from War. Comes with a 4 loyalty. It has 2 activated and a static. 1 activated is +1. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. Draw a card. You could use that for you. Once again, that's a grain. That's essentially 3 card draws. -8, draw 7. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Don't think that's going to be something... The win the game part on that, I don't think it's going to be relevant. But also, like we've talked about with your Planeswalkers, it could be something, Tuck, that, it's an 8. All right, well, I still got 50 cards left on my library for the static effect. I'll minus it, kill it, draw 7 cards, and then play it again from the graveyard for 4. Seems good. But as I talked about, guys, with Primal Surge, its static ability is if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. This immediately wins you the game on the spot once Primal Surge resolves. I do this in my God deck. But I think for you, Tuck, you're different than me with my God deck. And what I mean by that, even though it's the same combo, quote unquote, what makes it different is Jace does nothing in my God deck.
Right, yeah.
Just absolute trash. At least with this, that +1, that's very good for you. Very much like the other ones where it's like you can target a player to discard and then you draw, but it's like even with the Ashiok you have in your deck where target player puts the top 4 of their library into the graveyard and then exile your opponents, like you can still do that to yourself, which you do. And so I think the +1 you would target yourself. Once again, keeping you at 4. We're not super increasing the CMC. And I think this accomplishes what that land does, but better.
Right, yeah. I can see that, and I don't have the data off top of mind of what my land drops have looked like and that sort of thing. So yeah, I agree. I think there's another, you could also sub in Thassa's Oracle of sorts into the same sort of slot. This one's obviously better, but yeah, like I said, the more and more I think about it, and this is a good pick, I just think you've convinced me to I think just take out the Primal Surge combo. Or at least maybe leave it in, but take out Time Stream Navigator, or try to work around it so it's not so complex.
If you wanted to replace Time Stream Navigator with Jace, okay. Yeah. But more what I was trying to get at is if Time Stream have already been sent to the graveyard and exiled, this gives you a way for Primal Surge to do more than just Primal Surge, Time Stream Navigator, Lightning Cream.
Yeah, for sure.
To take infinite turns. That still doesn't maybe even win you the game, because we've played against people that have tons of you got to pay 14 for each creature to attack me. You'll never be able to get through something like that. So at least with Jace, as soon as it hits, you win the game unless someone has a instant speed Planeswalker removal to be able to kill it.
Right.
Which is where, in my deck, I have Grand Abolisher to stop that.
Correct, yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably some way that you could do that in this deck, in these colors. Stuff can only be cast during your turn or whatever. But I do think Jace, Wielder of Mysteries would get you there. And also getting us there is the end of the episode. And as promised, here's some details about that giveaway from Level 1. We're giving away a Strixhaven bundle, CMD Tower playmat, and sleeves, all from Level 1. To enter, it's super simple. Just promote the content that we produce, audio and video and website. You get an entry for every share, follow, all of that stuff that you do with us. We will announce the winner on MTG Action for News on May the 4th be with you, and social media soon after. And yes, these giveaways will happen every month as long as you guys support Level 1 and support CMD Tower, because that's all it takes. We just want a little bit of love.
Just a love. Just a taste. Just a taste.
But we would love a 5-star review. If you aren't following us right now, hit the subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, whatever. And, leave a comment. We like them. We read them. I get notifications when people comment on the podcast platforms. And when you do that, it helps us grow and find more people to absorb into the collective. But if you'd like to reach out to us and find out more ways to enter into the contest, here's how you can do that. You can reach me at Mr. Combo number 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck with your hiatus. With you now being in a strange city and potentially not being able to drive your car for the next 30 days, where could people get a hold of you?
Well, I still have not put my money where my mouth is, and I still don't have my Twitter reactivated on my phone, but you can reach me there at BigTuck tweeting, although I did just retweet something that Scott sent me today, or rather Scooty Shuffles. So that was some big moves. And I've noticed it's gotten not 1, but 2 likes.
Whoa.
Look at you.
Let me guess. Check the Slice, Spencer Rabbits.
I believe it was Kitchen Table Commander and Jester Vest.
Oh, there you go.
Look. After you got the 1, that's 100% increase to 2.
That's what I'm talking about.
You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. We also have a website where the deck list and article will be posted by BigTuck today at cmdtower.com/BNBE87. Basically, just type in Caustic Caterpillar, Mystic Remora Duplicant Tower.com. Speaking of Gee, if people want to get a hold of your Manolith commentary and all the audio stuff that you do, how would they do that?
It's pretty simple. It's a couple of digits you have to type in. There's an @ symbol. There's a normal ending to it. It happens to be cmdtower.com. It's Dear Squee at cmdtower.com. Go ahead and shoot me an email. Happy to get back to you. If you need anything audio related, video related, just if you want to relate, just say hi. How's it going? Email me. I'm here.
You can do all your audio needs. It does have a full studio if you ever are in the KC metro area or vaccinated, because vaccine cards are required. Glitter around your navel area, optional.
I feel like STDs are just like, they just got a free pass this year. Everybody's like, oh, you got COVID? No. And then we're like, but I totally have chlamydia.
I did hear a very funny take on that, where someone's like treating it like STDs, where it's like, no, this is a fancy place. There's no COVID here. Like it was a nice hotel room that we had sex in.
Yeah, it's just herpes and chlamydia. That's all we got.
God. He does have a full studio and audio. Yeah, I'm just lost my train of thought. Anyways, if you guys want to hook up our sponsor with the orders you're already doing, head over to level1gameshop.com. When you place an order in the order notes, just type in CMD Tower, so they know that you came from the collective. They do sell a bunch of our swag. They do sell a lot of their own stuff. They will be selling C21 precons, which I believe comes out today. I believe if timing's correct, or we're off by one of the two. So definitely go support them so they can continue giving you guys free shite. But if you would actually like to give us money and help us out as we grow, as we want to improve the content, as we eventually want to start, and I know made a new resolution and I need to have it figured out now, but life, start doing gameplay videos.
Ooh, right.
Head over to our patreon.com/CMD Tower. 4 different tiers, as you heard in the beginning. Giving a couple awesome supporters shout outs to you getting your own CMD Tower playmat and sleeves. Plus, once we hit our 50 patron goal, we're going to start having one of the collective on Brews and Builds every single month. We'll send you a pair of headphones. We'll send you a microphone. We'll send you your recording laptop. That way you can have a high quality recording experience. But if you guys can't do a monthly commitment, but you would like to actually pick up some of that swag that maybe you see on a Mr. Bevers Twitch stream, maybe an MTG lexicon, or maybe even a game night. Just kidding. They're too scared to play us. You should head over to cmdtower.com/merch.
Thank you. I needed one of those. It's been a bit.
Do sell everything on there. yeah, just please go buy it. It's great. It's high quality stuff, and it really does help us.
I am begging you.
Plus, not relating, we have a referral program. So if you're an existing patron, an existing member of the collective, and you're out there praising the good word of Squee, the righteous...
The good word of Squee. I need to work on that book. I like that. I like the sound of that.
And the... I don't know, slurring of Mr. Combo, and you get someone to actually come in and join the collective as a long-standing member, just have them shoot us a message on Patreon when they sign up, and just give them your name, and we'll send you free stuff.
You could be the cacophony of Combo.
Ooh.
That sounds
good.
Doesn't it?
And, of course, guys, thank you again to Pink Royal for the music provided in the episode, and T-Coats, I will drink one for you. I'm not going to pour it out. That's a waste of alcohol tonight, as you're our awesome video editor, and we could not... I know we could do it without you. It would just suck, look like PowerPoint, and consume my life. So, thank you. So, BigTuck, we're at the end. You took a couple-week hiatus. Muldrotha's Buggy Yard. How do you feel? Do you feel like we actually have a way to win games now, opposed to just outvalue and make people want to quit?
Yeah, I think so. I need to take a long, hard look in the mirror at this deck and just kind of realize like what its true identity is, right? And if it's going to be the dedicated Primal Surge rigmaroles, then I really need to go in on that more, or just take it out. So yeah, I think putting in those Planeswalkers, putting in a couple other things that we talked about today is really going to help it not only be even smoother, but also actually have a way to end the game.
Yeah, the way I think about it, Tuck, the more you talk about cutting Primal Surge, which, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. If you cut Primal Surge, I think you go away from the all-permanent thing. Like, there's no reason to do that if you're cutting it. Like, there's no reason to have all permanents if you're cutting Primal Surge.
Sure.
Because there's just, like, literally no benefit outside of the fact of, oh, if I mill, like, kind of in my Gisa and Geralf deck, where it's like, shit, I milled a non-zombie, I'm not going to be able to bring it back.
Yeah.
But that's also few and far between if you're a good deck builder, which I am not. But if you want to keep that all permanents thing, I think you have to keep the Primal Surge in, because that's like the only thing. I think that's the only card I know of that really cares about all
that
permanents.
much, yeah.
And you know, and I think you just find not necessarily lots of ways to tutor it and be able to get it, because I don't even do that in my God deck. I think you just say, okay, what are the 2 lines or maybe 3 that I could win with Primal Surge? You know, boom it. Resolves, and if this piece didn't get exiled and this piece didn't, I could win. And then once you have those like 5 or 6 cards, then I think you build your 94, 95 card deck.
Right.
And okay, well now I could kind of do whatever the hell I want to, because I got the thing, it's here. What do I want the rest of this to look like? Sure. Is it ETB tribal, which I think is a very strong one. I do that in Carador. Yeah. You know, do you go with like this weird, I don't know, like tribal theme within it? Like, you can make it real weird if you're trying to do it, but I think if you're trying to make it a good deck, I think you just need to collapse some of your grain and hops and get a little bit more yeast and spice, so you actually have direction, opposed to, well, we're in for an hour 45-minute
grind. Grind for sure. No, that tracks. And like, again, I think ETB is an option. I think Gerard, big creatures is an option. I think like landfall, lands matter is also an option too. So a lot of different ways to approach it. So I got some thinkings to do on it for sure.
All right. Well, guys, as Squee and Tuck mentioned earlier, whiz you later.
Harry.
I quit.